Some days, I would walk into a room and feel like the walls were closing in. Not from the space itself, but from the weight of everything inside it. Stacks of papers I meant to file. Boxes from holidays long past. Gifts I never used but felt too guilty to let go of. Clothes that once fit a different version of me. And memories. So many memories tucked into drawers and corners I hadn't opened in years. I wasn't trying to make my home feel heavy. It just happened over time. A little here, a little there. One day, I realized I wasn't just organizing stuff anymore. I was carrying it. Emotionally, physically, all of it. And then came the day I tried to fix it. I thought, all right, I'll tackle it all today. But within minutes, the house looked worse than when I started. Piles everywhere. Decisions I didn't feel ready to make. I sat on the edge of my bed, surrounded by things, and wondered if maybe I should just close the door and forget about it. But I didn't. I found a different way. A quieter way. I learned how to let go without turning my house upside down. Without guilt. Without rushing. And without feeling like I had to become someone else entirely. That's what I want to share with you today. 7 ways to declutter that feel peaceful, not painful. Small steps that helped me reclaim not just my home, but my calm. Not everything has to go, but something does, so you can breathe again. Let's begin. 1. The peace bag practice. I didn't start with a grand plan. I didn't download a checklist or buy fancy bins. I started with a trash bag. Not even a new one, just a black bag I had tucked under the sink. The kind you usually use for yard work or kitchen waste. That day, I remember feeling stuck. Not just in the clutter, but in my own thoughts. There were too many decisions, too many emotions, too many memories. I needed to move, but gently. So I told myself, don't think. Just find what's clearly trash. That's simple. No drama, no guilt. Just what's clearly trash. I walked around the house slowly, holding the bag. Not expecting much. But in 5 minutes, I found so many little things I had stopped seeing. Empty envelopes, expired coupons, broken pens, pieces of packaging I meant to recycle, but never did. Dried-up glue sticks, receipts from stores that no longer existed. And with every drop into that bag, I felt something strange. Relief. It wasn't about cleaning. It wasn't about organizing. It was something deeper. Like I was proving to myself that I could start, that I could move forward, and not everything had to be a big emotional battle. Some things were just done. And that was okay. I kept going. Just a few more minutes, then stopped. I didn't try to finish the whole house. I didn't turn it into a project. I gave myself credit for what I had done and tied the bag shut. That bag didn't just hold trash, it held proof that I still had choices. I wasn't stuck. I started calling it my peace bag, because that's what it gave me. A little pocket of peace in the middle of a busy life. And I kept using it. Once a week, sometimes once a day, especially on hard mornings when I felt overwhelmed and didn't know where to begin. I'd grab that same kind of bag and ask myself again, what's clearly trash? That's it. No shame. No pressure. If you feel frozen, like your home has too many decisions waiting for you, start there. Not with the sentimental boxes, not with your closet. Start with the obvious. Let it be simple. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need one small, doable action that reminds you that you are still in charge of your space, your energy, and your peace. And sometimes that starts with a trash bag. 2. The 5 decision zones. The first time I tried to declutter an entire room, I made a big mistake. I pulled everything out onto the floor. Every drawer, every bin, every closet shelf, and told myself I'd sort it all in one afternoon. You can guess how that ended. By lunchtime, I was tired. By mid-afternoon, I was frustrated. And by evening, I was standing in the middle of a disaster zone, staring at piles I didn't want to touch anymore. That night, I went to bed feeling defeated. The clutter had won. The next morning, I sat with a cup of tea and thought, this isn't working because I'm trying to decide too many things at once. And that's when it hit me. Maybe what I needed wasn't just to get rid of things, but to make the decisions feel easier. So I created what I now call my 5 decision zones. 5 boxes. Actually, mine were old laundry baskets and a couple of reusable grocery bags with 5 simple categories. Trash, recycle, donate, sell, rehome. Just 5. That's it. And I made myself a rule. No maybe pile. No keep box either. If I wanted to keep something, I had to put it back where it belonged, right then. That way, I didn't create another pile to deal with later. And let me tell you that one small rule changed everything. It forced me to be honest. No babysitting items in limbo. No overthinking. Just as simple. Is this something I still want to use, love, or pass on? And if so, where does it go? The rehome basket was especially helpful. I tossed in anything that clearly belonged in another room. A book that wandered into the kitchen. A pair of glasses that ended up in the laundry room. A screwdriver I'd left in the bedroom. Instead of running back and forth, I let them gather in that basket and took them back all at once when I finished. Now, did I always use all 5 boxes? No. Sometimes I skipped the sell box when I didn't have the energy. Sometimes I combined trash and recycle when I was short on bags. The point wasn't perfection, it was momentum. It was feeling like I had a structure, something that held my hand through the process. And that structure gave me confidence. Every item had a destination. Every decision felt doable. And little by little, the piles went away. If you're facing a room that feels too full, don't start by emptying everything. Start with a small corner and 5 simple zones. Don't worry about speed. Don't aim for perfect. Just give yourself a calm space to make choices, one object at a time. Because the more gentle decisions you make, the more peaceful your home becomes, and the more peaceful you feel inside it. For 3, the rehome basket. There's a certain kind of clutter that doesn't really belong in the trash or donate pile. It's not broken, outdated, or unloved. It's just misplaced. A coffee mug in the bedroom, a sock in the kitchen, a pair of scissors on the living room table, even though they belong in the drawer near the fridge. These aren't problems on their own, but when they add up, they create a home that feels scattered and unfinished. That's what was happening to me. Every time I tried to clean or declutter, I'd find these little items in the wrong place. And every time I stopped to put them away, I lost my rhythm. I'd go upstairs to return a book and end up folding laundry. I'd go to the basement to return a tool and get distracted by the storage bins I had been avoiding for months. Before I knew it, the session was over and nothing was really done. One day, I gave myself permission to stop running back and forth. Instead, I grabbed an empty basket and told myself, "This is your rehome basket." Anything that was staying, but in the wrong spot, went into the basket. No detours, no distractions, just in the basket for now. And that changed everything. It was like suddenly I had a helper by my side, quietly carrying everything for me so I could focus. I no longer had to stop and switch mental gears every few minutes. I stayed where I was, making steady progress. Then, at the end, when I had the energy and the mental clarity, I took the basket and walked through the house, placing things back where they belonged. It felt efficient. But more than that, it felt kind. Kind to my time. Kind to my energy. Kind to my mind, which no longer had to juggle a dozen half-finished tasks. And this wasn't just about being organized. It was about protecting my peace. Because decluttering is not just physical. It's deeply emotional and mental too. Every little decision takes something out of you. And if you're constantly stopping to shift from decision-making into errand running, it's no wonder you feel tired before you even make it halfway through. That's why the rehome basket is so powerful. It creates space for focused thinking. It turns scattered distractions into one calm task. And for me, it became a small act of self-respect. I even started keeping one in every room for a while, especially during the early days when I was just learning to work through my space again. A basket in the hallway, one in the bedroom. It helped more than I expected. If you've ever felt like you're working hard but not getting anywhere, this might be the thing that helps you stay centered. It's not flashy. It's not complicated. It's just a basket with a purpose to keep your momentum sacred. And some days, that's the difference between giving up and gently carrying on. Chapter 4. Grace Zones. There's something no one tells you when you start decluttering. You won't feel ready to make every decision right away. Sometimes you'll hold something in your hand, an old birthday card, a gift from someone who's no longer here, a blouse you haven't worn in years, and your heart just hesitates. You're not sure if it should go. You're not sure if you'll miss it. You're not sure if you're being too sentimental or not sentimental enough. And in those moments, I used to freeze. I'd hold on to the item stuck between guilt and uncertainty, and my progress would stall. One unsure object would turn into 2, then 3, and suddenly I was sitting in a room full of indecision. That's when I realized I needed something different. Not a rule, not a deadline, something softer. So I created what I now call my grace zones. Small spaces in my home where I could place items I wasn't ready to decide on yet without letting them turn into clutter again. These grace zones became my safety nets. At the bottom of the staircase, I placed a pretty woven basket. Anything that needed to go upstairs, but not immediately, woman air. When in there once a day, I'd take it up. Simple. In my closet, I hung a cloth bag with a tag that read, "Think about me later." That's where I placed clothes I didn't feel ready to donate, but also hadn't worn in over a year. Giving them a temporary home helped me release the pressure to decide on the spot. In the kitchen, I cleared out one drawer and labeled it with a sticky note. Unsure. Old utensils, mugs from long ago vacations, odd little items I didn't quite want to let go of yet. They lived there for a while, and every month or so, I'd revisit that drawer with fresh eyes and a calm heart. These weren't junk drawers. They weren't clutter piles. They were intentional spaces for grace. Spaces that honored the pace I needed to go. The key, of course, is to return to them. Not to let them become permanent storage, but to treat them like a quiet waiting room. A space where your heart gets a little more time, and your mind a little more peace. Sometimes, after a few weeks, I'd open a grace zone and think, "Oh, I forgot this was even here." And just like that, I was ready to let it go. No struggle, no guilt. Other times, I'd find something I was now glad I kept. And that's the beauty of giving yourself grace. You don't rush yourself. You don't shame yourself. You just keep moving, kindly, gently, and with respect for the part of you that's still learning how to let go. If your decluttering journey has felt all or nothing, I invite you to try creating one small grace zone. Let it hold the weight of your maybes so you don't have to. Because some days, the most loving thing you can do is allow yourself time. 5. The timeout box. So, letting go sounds simple, until it's not. You hold something in your hand, a scarf from a trip 10 years ago, a teacup that belonged to your aunt, a necklace your daughter gave you, though you never really liked it. You stand there trying to decide what to do. But every choice feels too final. So you keep it, not because you need it, not even because you want it, but because you're afraid of making the wrong decision. Because part of you whispers, "What if I regret this later?" That's when I discovered the magic of the timeout box. It started almost by accident. I had a small cardboard box I kept near my closet. On a tired afternoon, when I was too emotionally drained to decide about a few old handbags and sweaters, I quietly folded them up and placed them in that box. Then I wrote the date on a sticky note and placed it on top. I didn't think much of it. Months later, I came across the box again while cleaning. I opened it, stared at the items inside, and realized something surprising. I hadn't thought about them once. Not a single time. I hadn't missed them, hadn't looked for them, hadn't even remembered they were gone. And just like that, the decision to let them go was easy. No guilt, no second guessing, just relief. So, I started using the timeout box more intentionally. Whenever I felt stuck on something, too uncertain to toss it, too burdened to keep it, I placed it inside that box. I'd label it with the date and tuck it away in a closet, under the bed, or behind a door. Somewhere out of sight, out of mind. And I'd set a quiet rule for myself. If I didn't miss it in 90 days, it was ready to go. Not everything in the box ended up in the donation pile. Sometimes I'd find something I genuinely wanted to keep. And that was okay. But more often than not, I'd open the box and feel distance from those items. Emotional space, like time, had gently peeled off the attachment I once had. That's the beauty of the timeout box. It gives you room to breathe. It delays the decision without avoiding it. It honors your hesitation without letting it take over your home. And more importantly, it helps turn emotional clutter into clarity. I once used it with a collection of old greeting cards I had kept in a drawer for over 15 years. I placed them in a timeout box, thinking I'd probably pull them back out the next week. 90 days later, I couldn't even remember who some of the senders were. What once felt sacred now felt like a burden I didn't need to carry anymore. That moment taught me something important. Sometimes it's not time that helps us, it's distance. Physical and emotional space, a break from the pressure to decide perfectly in the moment. The timeout box is not about delaying forever. It's about giving your heart a chance to settle, letting your instincts speak more clearly, without the noise of guilt, memory, or obligation. If you're stuck, truly stuck on certain items, try it. Find a simple box. Make it opaque if you can, so you're not tempted to peek. Write today's date. Place it somewhere you won't trip over it, and walk away. Then later, weeks or months from now, revisit it with a peaceful mind. What stays, stays. What goes, goes. And either way, you've honored your journey with grace. 6. The backwards hanger trick. I used to think I wore most of the clothes in my closet. After all, I didn't buy things I didn't like. Every shirt, every sweater, every pair of pants. I could tell you why I had them. That one's good for special occasions. That's the comfy one for errands. That was expensive, so I'm keeping it, even if it doesn't fit quite right anymore. But the truth? I wore the same 6 or 7 pieces over and over. Everything else was just there, taking up space, reminding me of old versions of myself, of styles I no longer loved, of sizes I no longer fit into, but couldn't quite let go of. That closet wasn't full of clothes. It was full of stories, and some of them no longer matched who I was. Then I heard about something called the backwards hanger trick. It sounded silly at first. Turn all your hangers backwards, and every time you wear something, hang it back up the normal way. After a few months, anything still hanging backwards hasn't been worn, and might not be needed anymore. So one Sunday afternoon, I decided to try it. It took less than 10 minutes. I flipped every hanger around so the hook faced the opposite direction. Then I closed the closet and went about my life. Over the next few weeks, every time I wore something, I hung it back the right way. Slowly, patterns started to show. That blouse I swore I loved had never touched it. The expensive pants I was saving for a nice dinner, still collecting dust. Meanwhile, I wore the same cardigan 4 days in 1 week, because it was soft, forgiving, and made me feel like myself. The backwards hangers didn't lie. They showed me gently what I already knew deep down. I didn't need a bigger closet. I needed an honest one. And more importantly, I needed to forgive myself for who I no longer was. The clothes I wasn't wearing, they weren't mistakes. They were part of a chapter that had ended. And once I saw it that way, letting go felt less like failure and more like freedom. The hanger trick became a quiet conversation between me and my closet. It helped me listen to what I was actually reaching for, what felt good on my body now, what matched my rhythm, what made me feel at ease. If you've ever stood in front of your closet thinking, I have nothing to wear, while surrounded by dozens of options, try it. Flip every hanger backwards. Don't judge. Don't pressure yourself to clean it all at once. Just observe. Let time do the sorting for you. Let your daily choices show you what still fits, not just your body, but your life. And when the season changes, take a look. What's still hanging backwards? What's waiting, untouched? Those might be the clothes ready to bless someone else. And you'll be left with a closet that holds only what you love, wear, and need, which in the end is the kind of simplicity that feels like a breath of fresh air every morning. 7. The one-in, one-out rule. I used to think I had stopped accumulating things. After all, I wasn't shopping the way I did in my 30s. I wasn't buying toys for the kids or filling kitchen drawers with the latest gadgets. These days, I told myself, I only picked up the occasional useful item. A new top, a replacement dish towel, a book I had been meaning to read. But one afternoon, while putting away a small bag of new groceries and a couple of items from the store, I looked around my kitchen and realized something. Everything felt just a little too full. The drawers were harder to close. The cabinet shelves were crowded. The coat closet had no room for the light jacket I had just bought. It wasn't that I had added too much at once. It was that I had been adding a little bit for a very long time, without letting anything go. That's when I remembered a simple rule I had heard years ago, but never tried seriously. One in, one out. The idea is exactly what it sounds like. Every time something new comes into your home, something else has to leave. If you buy a new sweater, donate an old one. If a new book arrives, pass along one you've already read. One in, one out. At first, I'll be honest, I resisted it. It felt too strict, too rigid. What if I wasn't ready to let anything go? What if the new thing was just a small replacement? But the more I thought about it, the more I saw the quiet wisdom in that rule. It wasn't about being strict, it was about being aware. So I gave it a try. The next time I brought home a new mug, a sweet little one with blue flowers, I took a deep breath and opened the cupboard. I picked up a chipped mug I'd been holding onto for sentimental reasons, even though I never used it. And I let it go. It was just one item. But it felt like I had made space, not just in the cabinet, but in my mind. That's the thing. This rule isn't about stuff. It's about balance, about refusing to let the weight of things quietly build up again once you've cleared it. And the more I practiced it, the more peace I noticed. When a new pair of shoes came in, an older pair with worn soles went out. When I received a gift I loved, I chose something of equal size or purpose to donate. Sometimes I even swapped between categories. If I brought home a new cookbook, I'd release a decorative item from the kitchen shelf. It didn't have to match perfectly. It just had to make space. It also taught me to be more intentional before bringing something new in. I'd ask myself, what would I be willing to part with to make room for the? And if I couldn't think of anything, that often meant I didn't really need the new thing at all. The rule became more than a system. It became a conversation with myself. And the beauty of it is, it works in small homes and large ones, for the minimalist and for the sentimental. You don't have to let go of what you love. You just agree to let your home breathe, to avoid the slow creeping overwhelm that can sneak in over time. Because the truth is, we don't notice clutter when it arrives in teaspoons. It builds slowly, almost invisibly. But so does clarity, if we practice it gently and often. So if your home already feels calmer and you want to keep it that way, I invite you to try this rule. Not as a burden, not as a punishment, but as a gift to yourself. Every time you bring something new into your life, ask, what am I ready to release to make room for this? And in that small, sacred exchange, you'll keep choosing peace over accumulation. One object at a time, a quiet kind of courage. If you've made it this far, listening, reflecting, maybe even nodding along as you pictured your own home, then I want to say something that matters more than any tip I've shared today. I'm proud of you, not for having a perfect house, not for finishing a project, but for showing up, for being willing to look at the spaces in your home and in your heart with honesty, tenderness, and the quiet kind of courage it takes to let go. Decluttering is not about getting rid of things. It's about choosing what stays, what still serves you, what brings you ease, what tells the truth about the woman you are now, not just who you've been. Every drawer you open, every object you consider, every choice you make with intention. That's an act of self-respect, of clarity, of freedom. You don't need to do it all at once. You don't need to finish today. You only need to begin, again and again, with grace. And remember, letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't erase the love, the history, or the person you were when you held those things close. It simply means you are choosing space. Space for breathing, space for rest, space for what's still ahead. Because there is more ahead, more laughter, more lightness, more peace, and your home, your beautiful, well-lived, memory-filled home can reflect all of that. So whether today's step is a single trash bag, a rehome basket, or just the decision to stop and breathe, know this: you are doing enough. You are moving in the right direction, and you are not alone. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you found comfort here, I hope you'll share it with someone you love. Sometimes the best thing we can give each other is not advice, but company. A soft voice that says, "Me too, I have been there." Until next time, take gentle care of yourself. You deserve that, and so much more.